It's been a while since I last put out an EDC update video, and just for the record, it's September of 2024, and I'd like to share with you my first responders EDC kit. Now, time and again, palagi kong sinasabi na as a first responder, iniiwasan ko ang pagiging masyadong tactical with my EDC kit kasi nga minsan ang mga pasyente or kamag-anak ng pasyente matatanong ka, "Sir, ano ka ba? Manliligtas ka ba o kikitil ka ng buhay?" So, as a first responder, I try to do my best not to look so tactical, especially when it comes to the manner in which I dress and the manner at which I conduct myself. So, let's start off with what are the things that a first responder needs to have on him as part of his EDC kit. Unahin ko na yung watch. It's a simple analog watch. As we all know, as a medical professional, we need to take vital signs, and the watch is a very vital instrument in that task. So when you take vital signs, mas madali kasing kumuha ng readings gamit ang analog watch, and it's very important that the watch is analog. It doesn't matter if it's branded or not. This was a gift to me. Thank you, Caitlin. Regalo to sa akin way back 2020 pa. So, it's the watch I wear to work simply because it's an analog watch. So, it's easier to take time readings compared to a digital watch or just using the stupid smartphone. Now, the next important item, this is my absolute EDC item. And when I say EDC, palagi kong dala-dala. And it's my EDC pouch. Well, one of the two EDC pouches that I carry. And as you can see on this particular pouch, I have an updated keyring, which is much simpler than the keyring that I used to carry around. Basically, all I have on this keyring is the house keys and the Leatherman Bruiser. I think I talked about this before. I carry this Leatherman Bruiser simply because of this particular. This slot fits perfectly on a pin-type oxygen cylinder valve. So saktong-sakto siya in case I need something to open or close an oxygen cylinder. So yan lang yung special item dito sa keyring ko. Next, we go to the pouch itself. Now, this pouch, whether or not I'm on duty, dala-dala ko to. And inside is a small pen, my Lumen Top Tool AAA, which I really like. And hindi pa ako nagpapalit ng battery dito sa flashlight na to since I got it like more than a year ago. Matipid talaga siya sa battery power. And of course, I have my Victorinox waiter, which is my main cutting tool for this particular setup. And I have a full-sized Bic lighter. Now, in addition, I have a small notebook inside with my ID and plastic. So, pag ako on duty, bihira na ako nagdadala ng cash talaga because I don't really need it. Now, the next EDC pouch that I carry with me contains just a few simple items. One is a small pair of trauma shears. So, ito yung EDC trauma shears ko. And Conipex 125 pliers. Again, ang purpose nito is for opening and closing an oxygen cylinder. In addition, since it's adjustable in a pinch, I can take on and take off an oxygen regulator if need be. So, pag gipit ka na wala kang liabe, pwede mong gamitin to for that purpose. But if I really need to be slick and simple, mostly on days when naka-duty kami sa mga crowded places, I carry only a couple of items. My X-shear in its own pocketable or inside the waistband setup Kydex sheet. and the Cold Steel Pro Light. This is the sport version. Why again? Because the thumb hole serves as a perfect oxygen cylinder tank wrench. So that's one of the main reasons why I like this particular blade, especially for EMS duty kasi nga dual purpose siya. I can cut and at the same time I can open and close an oxygen cylinder tank. Of course, aside from those items, I also carry with me my pulse oximeter. So alam naman natin, sa mundo ng first responder, this is one of the most basic pieces of equipment that you need to have aside from your gloves and your surgical mask. At the very least, you should have a pulse oximeter on you to check vital signs. Of course, you can manually check pulse rate, pero yung oxygen saturation, medyo mahirap gawin yon na mano-mano. Okay? Unless talagang mahusay kang kumilatis ng pasyente. So if there's 3 bare minimum items that I have to have, in as far as when I'm on duty, it will be the X-Shear, the Pro Light Sport, and my pulse oximeter. So ito na yung pinaka-basic na first responder kit ko. But I showed you my ultimate EDC items because I actually carried those pouches every single day. So, whether on or off duty, dala-dala ko yung, lalo na yung etong gray pouch, very vital sa akin to. So, kahit wala akong ibang gamit, I have this gray pouch, I'm more or less all set. Now, I wanted to share this particular setup simply because napapansin ko nga na yung mga first responders, masyado silang napapadpad sa pagiging tactical, you know. Ako, ang challenge ko palagi is how to carry the best possible setup in my pockets lang. So, wala akong gamit na nakakabit sa belt. Wala akong nakasabit na Raptor sa belt or whatever. Wala akong knife na naka-clip sa bulsa. As much as possible, all my stuff is in my pockets because in an emergency, when you're a first responder, kakalat lahat ng gamit mo eh. And hindi mo alam when you move in a crowd kung sino yung dudukot ng mga gamit mo. So, I have to have all my stuff inside my pockets, which is why I like using the pocket slips that I have. Hindi naman masyadong na-abuse ang gamit kung nasa loob lang ng bulsa. So, it's not really a problem as far as I'm concerned. Now, ang mahirap lang dyan, ang mga first responders ngayon, masyadong nagpapa-cool, nagpapa-rescue and superhero effect. Hindi naman talaga tayo superhero sa totoo lang. And speaking of the superhero aspect, if ever I needed to carry a first aid kit, I carry a small blowout kit kung tawagin, which also has a very, very small boo-boo kit. Now, what's the difference between the blowout and the boo-boo? The blowout is for more serious bleeding injuries and the boo-boo kit is yung mga kailangan lang ng band-aid, konting punas ng antiseptic swab, mga ganun lang. And why is it that I do not carry an elaborate first aid or individual first aid kit? Simply because the reality of the matter is kapag seryoso na talaga yung injury, as a first responder, wala ka masyadong magagawa. After na na-patch up mo na, after na manage mo na yung injuries ng isang pasyente, kailangan mo na siyang dalhin sa hospital because beyond that, wala ka na talagang magagawa. So let's face that reality. As a first responder, hindi tayo Superman, hindi tayo rescuer. Kasi in my experience as a first responder, marami na ako nakitang, marami nang namatay na pasyente sa kamay ko. And that's through no fault of mine. These were just calls na hindi naagapan agad. So ako na yung last touch. Kumbaga, no management was performed. Doon sa duration na nangyari yung insidente at kami ay nakarating sa scene, wala na talaga akong magagawa. And that's the reality that first responders have to face. You're not there to rescue people. You're only there to manage the situation. And that's a more important skill than pretending to be Superman na ililigtas ko kayo. Try not to think that way para makaiwas kayo sa PTSD. Kasi nga, Nung bagito pa lang ako, yun din ang iniisip ko. Uy, huh, rescuer ako. Kaya lang, unfortunately, hindi nga yun ang sitwasyon. Hindi nga yun ang totoo. Kaya habang maaga pa lang, kung bagito pa lang kayo as a first responder, might as well, yun na kagad ang isipin ninyo. Kasi you cannot save everybody, and that's the reality of it. And that's the reason why I don't carry an elaborate trauma kit or anything like that. Simply because after mo namang ma-manage yung pasyente, dadalhin mo pa rin sa ospital. And that's the simple truth. Yun lang naman talaga ang pwede nyong magawa as a first responder. Huwag nyo masyadong taasan yung expectation nyo or don't play God. Meron kasi yung first responder na, Sir, ililigtas kita. Hindi po yan ganun kasimple. Hindi ito pelikula. Okay? Hindi lahat ng pasyente nyo mabubuhay sa kamay ninyo. You have to be very conscious about that. That is the very reason why I've seen a lot of first responders suffer from post-traumatic stress simply because akala nila, kasalanan nila na hindi nabuhay yung pasyente. And while we're on the subject of first responders, siguro in a general sense, pati na rin dun sa mga cool kids. As you can see, there's nothing cool or there's nothing practical about my EDC kit. So lahat nito, purpose-built. Lahat ng gamit na dala-dala ko, may purpose lahat yan. And over the years kasi napansin ko, ayoko na lang masyadong maraming dala na gamit. Nakakaasar na rin kasi I don't subscribe to the 2-is-1 concept. Sa akin, 1-is-1. Kasi pag inisip nyong 2-is-1, malamang sa malamang may mawawala kayong gamit And I've already experienced this so many times. Recently lang, about a few months ago, I lost one of my favorite knives. And masakit sa akin yun simply because alam ko na meron akong dalang waiter and I lost my CRKT simply because 2-is-1 One of the rare times na nag 2-is-1 ako na wala pa yung isa. This happens because complacent kayo na meron pa kayong backup. And for me, the backup is my primary. So, napaka-importante nun. I always think na I don't want to lose my stuff, especially in an emergency situation na wala ka ng ibang pagkukuhanan ng gamit. I don't want to lose my shit. When you practice the 1-is-1 concept, you have less things on you and you lessen the possibility of losing stuff. That's just something to think about. Ngayon, kung wala kayong kumpiyansa sa sarili nyo, kailangan nyo ng 2-is-1, 3-is-1, 4-is-1, bahala kayong buhay nyo. Buhay nyo yan. Ako naman, nagpapayo lang naman. Kumbaga unsolicited advice, but that's the way that I've been carrying myself over the last few years kasi nga naranasan ko nang mawalan ng gamit simply because I was practicing the 2-is-1 concept. Kamusta naman kung ilan na nawala niyong gamit? Sure kayo na hindi pa kayo nawawalan ng gamit. And finally, balikan natin yung serious injuries. Now, as you can see, my everyday carry setup, whether I'm on duty or just going around the city, napakasimple lang. Hindi siya yung elaborate na sobrang, kumbaga, ambulansya na yung baon mo. As a first responder, you're on duty 24/7. Walang time in, time out sa atin. Pag may nakita kang disgrasya, you have the option to help. Pero in all honesty, pag nakita kong marami nang nagkukumpulan na magagaling, hindi na ako nakikisawsaw. Bahala na silang buhay nila. Kasi nga, hindi naman ako rescuer. That's just my personal philosophy. Pag nakita mo ng marami ng tao sa scene, then conserve your resources. Besides, cargo nila yun kung may nangyaring masama sa pasyente or may mali silang ginawa sa pasyente. It will be on their conscience, not on yours. So yun lang naman ang filosofiya ko pagdating sa ganyan. Kasi nga, kinakailangan tama ang management mo on scene because at the end of the day, dadalhin nyo pa rin sila to a higher level of care. Most likely, kakailanganin na niya ng mga specialista, mga surgeons, mga pulmo specialists, or cardio specialist, whatever it is, kailangan na angat sa kanila ang problema dahil as a first responder, hanggang dun ka lang eh. Hindi ka nalalampas dun sa scope of practice mo. Kung lumampas ka na sa scope of practice mo, malamang, hindi ka na nakakatulong sa sitwasyon. Kaya remember that. Huwag kayong bida-bida, huwag kayong papel ng papel. And ang mahirap niyan, naranasan na naming dumampot ng aksidente sa kalye, kami pa ang naperwisyo kasi nga, ang dami, ang haba ng proseso na pagdadaanan. Hindi yan basta dumampot ka ng pasyente, bagsak mo sa ospital. It's not that simple. Kailangan may kamag-anak yan, kailangan may doktor yan dun sa ospital na pagdadalhan ninyo, kailangan may pambayad. Ang dami niyong poproblemahin and that's not part of my job. Ang trabaho ko is i-manage yung injury niya, patch him up, and then bring him to a hospital. And hopefully, doon na siya tatanggapin. Pero hindi po nangyayari palagi yung ganon. There you go. Sa atin, sa Pilipinas, pagdating sa emergency response, ganon ang dadaanan ninyo. Kaya nga ako, hindi ako basta-basta dadampot ng pasyente sa kalye or hindi ako basta-basta mag-o-offer ng tulong kasi marami ng bida-bida. Bahala na silang magbida-bida at pag may nadagdagan ng disgrasya or worst case, namatay yung pasyente, konsensya nila yon. That's not mine. Okay? So, that's been the long and the short of it. This has been Abs Abando for Manila Sentinel. Raw, wag bida-bida.
Flight 100, maintain runway heading, climb 3,000 feet, runway 13, clear for immediate takeoff.